Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to cook, because today I got the platinum for Slay the Spire. Slay the Spire is a roguelike card game. Now at this point, you'll probably have two questions, and I'm happy to answer them both for you. What is a roguelike? It's a genre where players navigate generated levels that change every time you replay the game, so no playthrough is ever exactly the same. The gameplay itself is also usually pretty damn challenging, and an essential part of the experience is permadeath. This allows the player to start a new run of the game and experience events that they didn't see in prior runs. Now to counter this, the game is usually pretty short, only like a couple of hours long at most, and dying is 100% intended and part of the game. It's baked into all aspects of it. I hope that was a good enough explanation. Now on to your second question. What is a card game? Are you okay? Anyway, Slay the Spire has 44 trophies, but I also got 2 DLC trophies, so 46 trophies. PSN Profile has this game at a whopping 8 out of 10 difficulty with an estimated completion time of 100 hours and at least 46 playthroughs. Yeah, she a thick one. Luckily for me, I have a buddy who has 1,500 hours on this game, and he was willing to help me through the depths of Slay the Spire. But before I get to trophy hunting, I'm gonna break down the basic gameplay of Slay the Spire. There are 4 characters, each with a unique playstyle and deck of cards. When you start, you're presented with a map that shows different paths that you can take to reach the top, where you'll face a boss. And to win, you'll need to get through 3 maps. Along the way, you'll face battles with enemies of varying difficulty, and after each battle, you'll pick one of 3 cards to add to your deck. You'll also encounter events, which are like random encounters that can change up your run in surprising ways. Shops are also there, where you can spend the gold you earn from fights to buy useful items. And there's also campfires, where you rest to gain health, or if you're happy with the amount of health that you have, you can go and upgrade one of your cards instead. And the combat itself is pretty simple. Your opponent will either attack, debuff, or buff themselves, and you get 1 turn to respond. You start with 3 energies and have to use the cards that are given to you from your deck to try and best prepare for whatever the enemy is doing. Once you end your turn, the enemy does whatever they were gonna do, and then you go again. Now up here we have relics. These are special items that provide permanent bonuses throughout your run, helping you survive longer. There's also potions that are consumable items that you can get, and these will also give you various different effects. I know this is a lot to take in, but once I start playing, it'll all make sense. To be honest, Slay the Spire is a pretty damn complicated game, but once you get the hang of it, it's a blast. Alright, that was officially my longest intro by far. I finally got to use my PhD in Yapology. Alright, now let's go get some trophies. So for my first run, I play as Ironclad, and he specializes in brute force, strength, and tankiness. There's also a trophy for getting a win with each character, so I gotta start somewhere. And during my run, I also picked up some other random trophies. First, I got this trophy for beating the Guardian boss for the first time, and then in Act 2, I fought the Champion boss and got 2 trophies from him. The first is for exhausting 20 cards in a single combat. When you exhaust a card, it gets removed from your deck, but only for that combat that you're currently on. So for your next combat, your cards will all be back to normal. But I got the trophy thanks to this card called Fiendfire, which is a crazy attack that exhausts your whole hand and does 7 damage per card exhausted. And since I'm Ironclad, I also get access to a lot of strength-based cards, which increase my attack power. So that 7 actually became 18 this time. And as a result, I absolutely melted the boss and got a trophy for beating him. I then got another trophy for having 99 or more block during a single combat. I got this thanks to a card called Entrench, which doubles your current block. That, in combination with my other block cards, got me the trophy pretty easily. And I also got another trophy for having 3 or less cards in my hand, draw pile, and discard pile combined, and I got it thanks again to Fiendfire because it just deletes my whole damn deck. Look at that, that's beautiful. And with all of that out of the way, it was time for the Act 3 boss. This is the only thing left blocking me from my W, and he is pretty tough. To beat him, you have to get through 2 full health bars while defending against some very hard-hitting attacks. But thanks to the insane amount of strength that I built up throughout the fight, which caused Fiendfire to do 31 damage per card, Jesus Christ, I easily melted his second health bar before he got the chance to do anything. I got a trophy for beating the boss, a trophy for beating the game for the first time, and a trophy for beating the game specifically as Ironclad. Okay, that was just one run, and I got a shit ton of trophies already. Maybe this game isn't that hard. Then I played my next run as the Silent, and she specializes in poison, quick attacks, and card cycling. And I beat some new bosses this run, including the Ghost, who kind of looks like Spiritomb from Pokemon. I then killed the Automaton in Act 2 and almost got Helldivers flashbacks. And then I got this next trophy for having 9 or more energy in a single turn. turn, and I got this done thanks to 2 cards, Adrenaline and Bloodletting. These were also both upgraded in my run, so the energy I got was even more than what the cards say. And funnily enough, Bloodletting is actually an Ironclad card, but I had the Prismatic Shard offering, which makes it so other characters' cards can appear in my shops. And with these 2 cards in my deck, plus some deck cycling cards to get them back, it was only a matter of time before I hit 9 energy. I then got a trophy for killing the Act 3 boss, Donu and Deco, which then led me to get the trophy for winning a run as the Silent. I played my next run as the Defect, and he specializes in orbs, energy generation, and power stacking. And to start this run, this whale made the enemies in my first 3 combats have 1 HP, so I blitzed through them and got this trophy for winning a combat without using an attack. And since Defect just spawns in with a lightning orb already in play, it doesn't count as an attack, and it killed the enemy after 1 turn. Next, I fought the Slime boss, and he's actually really easy. So easy, in fact, that when I beat him, I got this trophy for killing a boss without taking any damage. And I also got the normal trophy just for beating the boss. I got the next trophy for beating the Collector boss, who's kind of a pain in the ass, I'm not gonna lie. And then for Act 3, I fought the Time Eater boss. And he's a major problem depending on your build, because he'll just automatically end your turn if you play too many cards. But fortunately for me, I was using a build that didn't require too many cards to be played, so I beat him without much difficulty. And since that was the Act 3 boss, I also got a trophy for winning a run as Defect. I played my next game as the final character, the Watcher, and her specialties are stance dancing, high burst damage, and deck manipulation. She's also the easiest character to go infinite with. Going infinite means creating a loop where you play cards endlessly in a single turn, usually by generating energy and drawing cards repeatedly. And doing this is actually so easy with a stance dance deck, because when she goes into Wrath stance, she deals double damage and also receives double damage, but since I'm going infinite, that part doesn't really matter. And the next part is to enter Calm stance, which is a more defensive stance, and then exiting Calm stance back into Wrath stance gives more energy to continue the infinite. And this helped me get a trophy for killing this specific enemy, who you're really not supposed to kill as it has 999 HP. You're kind of just supposed to outlive it because it self-destructs after 5 turns. But to get the trophy, you have to actually kill it before it blows up. So going infinite on it is the perfect way to get this done. It takes ages, but it's worth it in the end. I also killed the Heart in this run, which is the secret final boss of the entire game, and it's actually really difficult. And I'll talk more about this fight later when more interesting things happen in it, but for now I got the trophy for beating the game as Watcher, and I also got the trophy for killing the Heart as the Watcher. Then I went back to the Silent and found some good cards to build a poison based deck, and there are some trophies that involve poison that I was able to get during this run. The first is for finishing off 3 enemies in a single combat with poison. This was really easy because I found Noxious Fumes and Crippling Cloud, which deal a lot of poison damage to a group of enemies. And then I found one of my favorite cards in the whole game, Catalyst, which doubles the amount of poison that an enemy currently has on them. And when upgraded, it triples the amount. I also drank a skill potion to get a random card and found Nightmare, which creates 2 copies of another one of your cards. So obviously I picked my upgraded Catalyst to copy. And then I proceeded to unleash the full force of the bubonic plague on this poor unsuspecting boss. He sadly passed away shortly after. I also got a trophy for inflicting 99 or more poison onto a single enemy. Poor guy. In my next game, I went back to Ironclad, and due to insane cards like Flex, which gives you 4 strength for free, and Limit Break, which doubles your strength, I was able to get this trophy for having 50 or more strength during a single combat. The enemies did not survive for much longer. And then in another very similar run against the same exact boss actually, I got a trophy for winning a battle with 1 HP remaining, but who needs health when you have strength? Here, I'll prove it to you. This is the Heart, the final boss, the hardest enemy in the game, and where did he go? Oh yeah, he's dead because my Heavy Blade scales with strength and did 297 damage in 1 shot. Ironclad is a fucking beast. And while we're at it, here's the trophy for beating the Heart as Ironclad. I also beat the Heart as the Silent, once again thanks to Catalyst and Nightmare being the best duo of all time. And the Heart was just feeling a little sick today. I don't know what was wrong with him. Funny thing about the Heart, it has this buff where you can only do a max damage of 300 per turn to it. So having this much poison built onto it is just a complete joke and the prime definition of overkill. But anyways, I got the trophy for beating the Heart as the Silent. And now the only one I had to do it for was Defect. And in the process of going for this one trophy, I went on an absolute generational run. I found this card called Meteor Strike, and every time it's played, it gives me 3 plasma orbs, which contributes to this trophy where I need 9 plasma orbs generated in a single turn. But there's a problem. Meteor Strike costs 5 energy to play, and I have to find a way to play it 3 times in a single turn. So here's what I did. I had the Philosopher's stone relic, which gets my base energy up to 4. And I had the nuclear battery relic, which automatically generates 1 plasma. Plasma orbs give you even more extra energy each turn, so I tried to set up as much plasma as I could to get as much energy as possible, and I ended up with 9 energy on my next turn. Then I played the first meteor strike, and it cycled in 3 more plasma orbs, and when the other 2 orbs got removed, they gave me even more energy on the way out. And I used that energy to cycle back to my next meteor strike, which I then immediately played. Alright, just 1 more meteor strike and the trophy was mine. I used a draw potion to cycle more cards and then played all of my draw based cards, and unfortunately still didn't get the meteor strike. But I had a distilled chaos potion which plays the next 3 cards on your draw pile, which meteor strike was luckily in. So the potion played the last meteor strike and channeled the final 3 plasma for the trophy. Alright, that was pretty stressful, but we're good now. I got the next trophy by playing 25 cards in a single turn, and doing this was also stressful because I set up so much extra energy and it was still barely enough to get this. I only had 1 more energy after getting the trophy, so we really went down to the wire with that one. And I got this next trophy for having 10 buffs active at the same time, and you could see at the bottom of my health bar that there is a lot of stuff going on down there. I had to use a lot of cards to get these buffs. And then I finally got up to the heart and started to go for this trophy, which is to get 999 block in 1 turn. Alright, this may take a little while. Let's see if my deck can pull it off. And there you have it. That 1 turn took about an hour, but I still did it. And now all I had to do was kill this damn heart. So I meteor struck it into oblivion and then got both the trophy for killing the heart as Defect and killing the heart with every single character in the game. That run was insanely productive. I was able to complete some of the most tedious trophies to go for, all in a single run. I then played another run as Silent to build into one of her other specialties, which is shivs. These are 0 cost, quick, easy damage cards that are created from other cards. And I needed to play 10 shivs in 1 turn for a trophy. I used 2 cards to do this. The first is Cloak and Dagger, which creates 2 shivs, and I also used 2 Blade Dance pluses to generate 4 shivs each, making a total of a perfect 10 for the trophy. And then here's me just spamming all the shivs to get it. Then I played a Daily Climb, which is a challenge run with modifiers that change every single day. And when I went for this trophy, my Daily Climb was for Watcher, and I had to start with a 50 card deck, which is way too many cards to make an actual functioning deck with any synergy, or so I thought. At the start of the run, it was just chaotic fun. I was pretty much just drawing random cards that I didn't even know I had in the damn deck, until I found Mind Blast, which deals more damage the more cards I have in the draw pile. And since I have 50 cards, this thing melted through the whole rest of the game. I even found a Dolly's Mirror relic in a shop, which creates a copy of a card in my deck, so I obviously chose Mind Blast. And then I bought yet another Mind Blast. So then I had 3 cards that just demolished the enemies on turn 1. On top of that, I got a Bottled Lightning relic, which let me guarantee that I draw a skill card of my choosing on turn 1, so I picked Blasphemy, which put me in a stance where I do triple damage. The downside is that I die on the next turn, but with the 3 Mind Blast triple damage, there is no shot any fight goes beyond turn 1. This run was absolutely awesome. One of the highlights of the whole platinum for me. Oh yeah, and I almost forgot, I got the trophy too when I won. Then I went for the Common Sense trophy, where I have to win a game with only common cards in my deck, and this is actually kind of challenging because most of the common cards in the game are just kind of mid, so it's a bit tougher to pull off anything crazy, but I still found a way. I comboed the Pen Nib relic, which every 10th attack I play does double damage, and also Perfected Strike, which does more damage depending on how many cards in your deck have the word strike in their title, which I know that's kind of a weird condition for a card, I will say. And as it turns out, a lot of common attacks in the game do have the word strike in them, so at its best, I got a 180 damage Perfected Strike to win the whole run. Absolutely beautiful. Then I got another trophy by defeating a boss on turn 1, and I got this with a really easy Watcher Infinite that I just spam the same 2 cards over and over again until the boss dies. And this broken strat even carried me all the way to getting possibly the hardest trophy in the whole game, winning a run with only 1 relic equipped. Relics change the tides of the entire run and make you so much stronger, so only having 1 is normally a very tough challenge. But spamming an infinite the whole run certainly makes it much easier. And honestly, the hardest part about this is just resisting the urge to pick up the many relics I find during this run, because at this point it's just muscle memory to pick these things up. But I did get the trophy thanks to OP Watcher Infinites. And I went for a trophy where I had to win a run with a 5-card deck or smaller, and this is another decently tough one, but again I used Watcher to get it because she is ridiculously overpowered. I removed every card in my deck until I only had 5 left. My strategy ended up being Eruption to get into Wrath mode, which does double damage, then Strike twice, then Vigilance to enter Calm Stance and get some block, and then I repeat until everything dies. And surprisingly, it worked really well actually, and I got the trophy. Then I had to get another trophy for winning a run in under 20 minutes. And this is much harder on console due to being forced to use a controller instead of just pointing and clicking all over the place with a mouse. But the strategy for this is to just play as Ironclad and do big bonk damage. I had such a great deck for this and even got an infinite going with Pommel Strike redrawing itself over and over again, so I didn't even really have to think about what I was going to play. And this carried me through the later parts of the run due to being generally underpowered, as I'm kind of just playing on autopilot. Also, another reason I'm underpowered is because I'm hard prioritizing events because they just take less time to complete than combats. As a result of that, I'm not really getting the chance to add any new cards into my deck, but who the hell cares about cards when you just have infinites? But anyways, I got the trophy after a few botched runs, but who's counting anyways? Then I had to go play a run as Defect for this trophy to get 25 focus in a single combat. The more focus you have, the more effective your orbs are. That's it. It doesn't really matter for the trophy, but I thought I'd mention it anyway. Anyways, to build focus, I used the Consume card. I got this gang fight down to 1 enemy left and then just cycled Consume over and over and over again until I got to 25 focus. And if my math is correct, I had to play the card 9 times to get the trophy. So not that bad. I got very lucky finding Consume as soon as I did, and also finding a good fight to get it on. Then I had to get a trophy that's not really hard, but it's very specific and RNG based, and it's for killing Donu with Feed. Feed is an Ironclad exclusive card, and Donu is, well, a donut. That's the joke, get it? I'm supposed to be eating him. Anyways, all I had to do was play Ironclad until I got the Feed card, and then pray that my Act 3 boss is Donu and Deka. And I think I got really lucky with this. It happened on my 4th game of attempting this, so I think that's pretty good. And the actual execution of the trophy is really easy. It's just the setup that could be really annoying. And now I only had 2 trophies left. Well, 3 if you include the platinum, but that doesn't count. 2 trophies left. And these 2 require the most grinding by far, and they are to beat Ascension 10 and 20. Once you win a run on a character, you unlock Ascension 1. This mode adds a modifier to make your run harder, and when you beat the game on that, Ascension 2 unlocks, and so on and so forth, all the way up to 20. And as you go on, these modifiers stack on top of each other, and there are some very mean and annoying modifiers along the way. I'll read out some of the worst ones. Start each run damaged. Start each run cursed. What this means is there's an extra card that gets added to your deck at the start of the game, and it does absolutely nothing. It cannot be played or removed. It just takes up a slot when you could have drawn a better card. Start each run with 1 less potion slot. And my personal favorite, Double Boss, where you have to get through 2 bosses at the end of Act 3. Wonderful. I should also mention that the heart is not required to beat in any of these runs, so I just avoided going for him every single time. So how did I do this? Well, I just used the Watcher because she's ridiculous, as we already established. I'm also not going to show all my runs up to 20, otherwise we'd just be here for like an hour. So I'll just show the runs for the trophies, but know that along the way there was a lot of pain and suffering and grinding. So for Ascension 10, I used a pretty standard Stance Dance deck. My main cards were Eruption, Inner Peace, and Fear No Evil to cycle between Wrath and Calm Stance. And I also used Flurry of Blows, which is a free attack that comes back to my hand every time I switch stances. At face value, it doesn't seem like much, but I had multiple of them, and remember, it does double damage in Wrath form, so it's actually really nice damage. I also used Crush Joints to make the enemies take even more damage because it applies the vulnerable status effect. And that's pretty much it for Ascension 10. Now let's get to the dreaded Ascension 20. And for Ascension 20, I used a very similar deck actually. Obviously a few minor things were different, but the idea is the same. Stance decks are just the way to go in this game, and sprinkle some casual infinites in there and you got yourself a perfect recipe for beating Ascension 20 and getting the platinum. And yeah, that was the Slay the Spire platinum experience. As you may have been able to tell, this game is really difficult and complicated, and I tried my absolute best to explain everything as simple as possible. But again, once you get the hang of things, it's a ton of good fun. When all was said and done, I think my favorite character is the Silent, purely because of the poison shenanigans. Like, this is just so absurd. What the fuck? If you have a lot of time on your hands and want to master a very complicated game, then I definitely recommend this. I should preface that it's not really a hard game game to play, but it's a hard game to master. But if you're not really into roguelikes or card games, then obviously this game will do absolutely nothing for you. It is a pretty niche genre after all. But yeah, other than that, that's all I got for you today. Have a good one. Get out of here.